I can't believe it's already been 6 months since Google released the Pixel 8 Pro, and in today's video I want to see how the Pixel 8 Pro has held up as the months and the updates went on. And by the way, if you are interested in picking up the Pixel 8 Pro, you're in luck because Best Buy is running deals right now, so you can get the 128GB and the 256GB. They're both discounted by $250, and you can even save an extra $325 if you decide to trade it in a phone. Those deals obviously will not last, so if you guys are interested, I'll have a link down below for you to check out. The thing that sets this phone apart from all the other phones is just how natural and comfortable this phone is to hold. I mean, whatever Google did with, especially with this backing, it's glass, but it just feels almost like rubber, which is amazing if you like to use your phones without using a case, because it doesn't slip at all. I mean, this phone feels like it already has a case on it. Phones like the iPhone 15 Pro Max, the S24 Ultra, or even the Xiaomi 14 are boxy. They have very sharp edges, and that definitely does put a strain on your pinky whenever you're scrolling through TikTok for hours and hours and hours, even though no one should be doing that, but I do it anyway. The Pixel 8 Pro, on the other hand, solves that issue and it just makes the phone feel more natural. It has everything that I like as far as design goes. It has a flat display while also having rounded corners and edges. Now, when the phone first came out, Google did promise us a couple things that I want to mention, right? One of them is Video Boost, and the other one, of course, is Zoom Enhance. Well, I am happy to say that one out of those two features are here. The other one is still missing. See, this is why I like doing long-term reviews, because you can actually see how well a company fulfills their promise, or in this case, did not, so far, even though we're halfway into the phone's life cycle. Video Boost is here and active, and it does a pretty darn good job, but remember, this happens on the cloud and not on your actual device, so processing times can vary from 1 hour all the way to overnight. Unfortunately though, Zoom Enhance is still not here, even though Google promised that to be coming out at the end of last year, December. We're in April. Well, almost in April. Still not here. The way the feature was supposed to work is that whenever you zoomed in on a photo, you would get a prompt saying enhance, and clicking this prompt would then use machine learning to add details to make the photo look crisper. This seems like a pretty easy thing to add. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not a developer, I'm not, an engineer, I don't know the mechanics of how this stuff works, but seeing all the other stuff that Google can do, that's why I say this seems like a pretty easy task. But it's still not here yet. I hope it's gonna come, but then again, Google is kind of well known for saying something and then being like, oh, never mind, we're not doing that. So, we'll see. The benefit to using a Pixel device is it's really not a phone, it's more like a really helpful assistant, and as an owner of many phones, I can confidently say, this phone truly helps the way you use your phone. Things like speech to text, it's the best out of any Android phone that I've used. It's almost in real time, and it puts punctuation in places where it thinks it needs to be, and you can still interact with the text without the function turning off. Speech to text or dictation on other Android phones is very basic. You actually need to say comma or exclamation mark or period in places where you want to put them. So it's very basic, and anytime you interact with the text, that dictation feature automatically cuts off. So if you want to continue dictation, you actually have to turn it back on again. Whereas, like I said, on the Pixel version, it just continues to stay on until you are completely silent for like 20 seconds or until you turn it off yourself. So that is just, it's really good. And by the way, if you guys are enjoying today's video, definitely click that like button. It's absolutely free to you, but it helps me and the channel out a lot. I always truly appreciate it. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. Another helpful feature is the circle to search. This is another one of those great features that helps you as a user. It pretty much bakes in Google Lens right into the operating system, meaning you can be anywhere in any app, just circle to search and you'll get information. So let's talk about updates, because I feel like this is super important and this needs to be said because they deserve recognition, honestly. Google and Samsung are the only two brands out of the hundreds in the Android world. Those are the only two brands that promise 7 years of support for their phones, so that means security updates and firmware updates. This is fantastic for two reasons, one of which is, well, if you keep your phone for 7 years, it's going to be up to date 7 years. Now the second reason is that it actually helps the next person you're selling the phone to. So let's say in 2 years you get tired of your Pixel 8 Pro, you want to sell it to someone. Well, whenever you sell it to someone, they now have a phone that will last them 5 years. And if they sell it to someone in 2 years, that third owner is going to have 3 more years of updates left. That is pretty darn fantastic. Now, as you guys know, Google Gemini was also announced, and it made its way to the Pixel among other Android phones. So this essentially replaces Google Assistant for a GPT-style chatbot. I like this change a lot because Google Gemini is smarter, faster, and just gives you more accurate results compared to Google Assistant, but it's not really implemented all that well. So there are a couple ways to actually activating it. One of them is hold down the power button, and then you'll see this new kind of layout with Google Gemini. Now the second way you can activate it is by using the magic phrase that I'm not going to say, but it goes like, hey, you know, that one, the second word, right? I'm not going to say it, but that's another way you can activate it. But with Google Assistant, there was a third way to activate it, and that's by pressing this microphone button on the search bar, but that no longer works. Whenever you do press on it, it just takes you to Google Assistant instead of Google Gemini. So hopefully Google can update this to include Gemini, or maybe release a whole new search bar that's dedicated for Gemini. But yeah, as of right now, you only have 2 out of the 3 ways that you normally had. Another thing Google excels at is generative fill. It's even better than the Galaxy S24 series, even though those also use Google servers and processing, but for some reason, it's better on the Pixel. I mean, it's really like magic. Anytime you take a photo of someone or something, you can just delete them and AI will just fill in the spots that were deleted. You can even delete cars and it'll just fill in the road, or you can even delete an entire building. Stuff like this is just so, I mean, it's not only fun to play with, but it's also really helpful, and just in case someone photobombs you as you're taking a selfie, you just delete them out of your life, man. That is so cool. I really cannot wait for this to come out to video. Now, that would be a game changer. But there are a few things that I just don't like about the Pixel 8 Pro, and those 2 things are kind of keeping me from this becoming my actual main phone. One of which is the battery life, and the second part is heat management. The Pixel 8 Pro's battery life just isn't that great. The Tensor G3 is not efficient at all. In almost all of the battery tests and the heat management tests, the Pixel basically almost comes in last out of any of those videos that I've seen. But even though those are control tests, you know, they put the phone under a lot of stress, that still translates to day-to-day life, because this phone gets very, very bright, 2,400 nits of brightness. But if you can't manage all that heat, the screen is just going to dim, and it does dim. It dims quite a bit. This is why I don't really care about specs on paper from the manufacturer, because they can put whatever they want. They can say, yeah, our phone's crazy bright, but what they don't tell you is that, yeah, it's bright, but then it's only bright for a little bit, then the screen starts to dim down to cool the phone off because it overheated. So yeah, I don't like specs on paper. And also, heat directly pretty much translates to battery life. The hotter your phone is, the worse battery life you're going to get. I'm getting around 6 to 6.5 hours, and that's really pushing it, of screen on time on the Pixel 8 Pro, which is fair, but it's not really anything too impressive. It's definitely not the phone you want to bring with you without a power bank if you're planning on taking a ton of photos and videos that day, because your phone is not going to last. So let's talk about the cameras. It's a Google Pixel. Of course, the camera quality is going to be great. It doesn't matter if you're shooting day or night, the photos are going to be fantastic. But I can no longer say that it's the king of photos. Many years ago, with the older Pixel phones like the Pixel 2, the Pixel 3, or even the Pixel 4, you could almost 100% guarantee that the Pixel phone was going to be the best for photos. But now with phones like the Xiaomi 14, the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, the S24 Ultra, the OnePlus 12, and others, the Pixel is no longer the king of photos. That's not to say the Pixel takes bad photos, that's not the case at all. They are great. But what that does mean is that the competition has definitely caught up and actually surpassed the Pixel. All in all, 6 months later with the Google Pixel 8 Pro, it's a good phone, it's a fun phone. It is slightly overpriced in my opinion, but you know, like I said, Best Buy has that deal where you get automatic $250 discount plus an extra $350 or up to $350 if you want to trade in a phone. So that definitely does help with the price of this phone. And if you can get this phone for around $700, I'd say you win. If you have the Pixel 8 Pro, let me know your experience down below. How is your ownership 6 months into the phone's life cycle? Are you happy you got it? Are you a little disappointed that you got it? Let me know. And not only does that help me, because I just like to know more about my audience, but it also helps the people that are watching this video and they're scrolling through the comments and then reading your opinion about the phone. So they're not only watching me, but they're also reading yours. So I think it's a win-win for everyone, right? And again, if you are new here, consider subscribing. If you guys did enjoy today's video, definitely click that like button. And as always, this was Mark from Mark's Tech. Adios.